Hey everyone, does this sound familiar? Today I'm going to show you how to fix a squeaky clutch pedal on a Honda S2000. The first thing you want to do is get the car on jackstands. With the car on jackstands, get under the car and locate the clutch slave cylinder. It will be attached to the transmission. Remove the two 12mm bolts holding the clutch slave cylinder in place with a wrench. As you pull the clutch slave cylinder off, take a look at the spherical end of the rod and you'll notice that it doesn't have any grease at all. This is the source of the squeaking sound. With the clutch slave cylinder removed, pull off the rubber boot and rod by prying the base of the boot away. When the rubber boot is removed, the cylinder inside the clutch slave cylinder might have a tendency to push itself out and leak brake fluid. In order to avoid this, I prop the clutch slave cylinder against the front lower brace like so. Other people recommended using tape or zip tie to keep the cylinder in place. If the cylinder does end up falling out, you'll have to bleed the clutch fluid, but this isn't that big a deal since you're already doing this. Now wipe down the rod and then polish the end of the rod using some fine sandpaper. I used 800 grit. Once the rod is polished, you want to grease up everything. Use your finger to apply some high-temp urea grease to the cup that holds the end of the rod onto the clutch fork. Then apply some high-temp urea grease to the inside of the rubber boot and the end of the rod. Reinstall the rubber boot onto the rod and install both of them onto the clutch slave cylinder. This can be quite tricky with all the grease. I found the easiest way to do this was to extend the base of the boot with my fingers and attach it to the clutch slave cylinder while using my palm to compress the clutch slave cylinder. Now it's time to reinstall the clutch slave cylinder. I would recommend using one arm to compress the clutch slave cylinder and using your other hand to immediately thread one of the 12mm bolts as soon as possible. Finish installing the clutch slave cylinder by tightening the two 12mm bolts that hold it to the transmission with a wrench. Torque them to 16 pound-feet. Lastly, get the car off jack stands, lower it back down to the ground, and enjoy your silently operating clutch pedal. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that subscribe button and leave a comment for any DIY you'd like to see in the future.